Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Kolar Arms, America's competition shotgun, and is fueled by Fiocchi.
Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast, coming in hot with everything you want to hear about sporting clays. With your hosts, Jason Rambo.
This is what I have to work with, everyone.
And Sean Alley.
Like I said, I was just thirsty.
Oh,
Often imitated, but never duplicated. It's the Dead Pair Podcast. It's showtime.
Welcome back, everyone. What's up there, Mr. Alley?
Hey, Jason, how things going down there in Florida?
Doing good. Getting ready to come see you.
Yep, won't be too long now.
Yes, sir. Time everybody's hearing this, I'll be on the plane the next day. So, going up to set targets for the Northeast Regional, along with a whole host of other target setters. Looking forward to seeing everybody up there. Hope everybody's going to make it for that one. But speaking of setting targets, we are talking to Mr. Jamie Peckham tonight, Sean.
Yeah, looking around on his resume, he's got a pretty wide and varied a history of, guy travels all over, it looks like, and he's been doing this for quite a while, so he's going to be very interesting to talk to.
Yeah, now see, if you get out of the house every once in a while, maybe you come shoot some of his targets.
Yeah. Well, as you know, it's been kind of a challenge for the last year or so with the wife.
Yeah.
Things are starting to shape up on that front, so hoping, things will kind of loosen up here by the end of the year.
There you go. There you go. Well, you definitely got to get out and shoot some of his targets. I was able to shoot him at the U.S. Open, and just absolutely phenomenal. And I was like, I got to talk to this guy.
Good deal.
That's when I reached out to him, and here we go. Sean, before we get to Jamie real quick, need to remind everyone about our Dead Pair drawing.
Yeah, that's coming up, guys. That beautiful Kolar shotgun fitted to you with, was it grade 3 wood they're throwing in with that, Jason?
Yeah.
And then your choice of barrels. So
yeah, hopefully, speaking of Northeast Regional, hopefully they got that wood on there by the time Kolar gets there for that regional.
Yeah, that'll be nice. I want to actually lay my hands on it and see.
Oh, no. No. You don't get to touch. You just look.
Oh, you stop it. Don't you even. Don't you even. But yeah, if you guys want to get a ticket for that drawing, make sure you visit our website. There's a link up there. Also, you can go on to the GiveSmart website from the Kids and Clays Foundation. And again, all that is going for a good cause. I mean, we're going to portion of the proceeds is going for the Kids and Clays. But somebody's going to win that gun, and Jason and I can't. So we're going to be jelly forever.
Yeah, I mean, I've even got family members that are mad at me because I won't let them buy a ticket. I'm like, nope, your last name's Rambo. You are not buying a ticket.
I've had the same conversation. I said, if somebody with the last name of Alley wins that gun, there's going to be all kinds of hell to pay. So.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't fudge it either because you got to go to an FFL dealer to get the gun. So
right, exactly.
But hey, speaking of cool stuff, let's not forget both Taconic Distillery and Ranger Performance Eyewear both have 10% discounts on their websites using the code DEADPAIR10 at checkout. That's DEADPAIR, no spaces, DEADPAIR and the number 10. Going to save you 10% off your order at checkout. And Sean Alley, I'm telling you what, I know they have so many awesome varieties, but I cannot get away from the pre-made old fashions from Taconic. I mean,
yeah, I actually got a couple bottles on my last shipment just because we were speaking so highly of it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, they've got those now. So now I don't have to actually buy all the components to do it myself. I just get it in the bottle, pour it in the glass, and here we go.
Yeah. See, I need to borrow that ProSign Studio credit card so I can get myself a couple bottles.
It's locked up somewhere. I haven't found it for a while, so it's hiding out somewhere.
It's probably in your wife's purse along with some of your other things. But anyway,
more than likely, yes.
But one more thing.
What's that?
Just need to remind everybody we will not have a podcast next week because you and I are going to be busier than one-legged bandits in a butt-kicking contest over at the Northeast Regional. So
that's right.
Just let everybody know we will not have a podcast next week, but we'll be following up. We've got some cool stuff coming, so bear with us.
Well, I think we need to get Jamie on the phone here.
All right. Let's do it. Let's get him on the phone. Hey, everyone. Each and every week you hear Sean and I brag about our sponsors. And it's not because they sponsor the show. It's because of their products and the unmatched customer support behind each and every single one of those products. We hope you're taking the time to investigate for yourself, try the products out, and see why we love them so much. Hey, Toby Tomplay, you want to remind everyone who we're talking about?
I'd love to, Jason. Kolar Arms, America's competition shotgun. Fiocchi USA. Here at the Dead Pair, we're fueled by Fiocchi. Ranger Performance Eyewear. See it further, see it faster, see it clearer with Ranger. Atlas Traps, America's finest clay target equipment. Rhino Chokes. For deadly patterns and knockdown power, choose Rhino. Long Range, the industry standard for trap release and target management systems. Taconic Distillery. After the tournament is over, it's time for one more shot with Taconic Distillery. Score Chaser, your shoots simplified. Clay Range Design Works, your one-stop shop for all your clay target needs. And now, back to the show.
All right, welcome to the show, Mr. Jamie Peckham. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Jamie, really nice to have you on the show. I know you're no stranger to the clay game, so how's things been going lately?
Yeah, no, I've been really busy. I just got back from the Czech Republic, so I've just done the European FITASC sport in there. And then I was over in the States doing the US Open a week or so before that. So it's been quite full on the last couple of months.
And I got to shoot those wonderful targets over here, rather. That was just awesome. But I tell you what, Jamie, before we dive into all that, because we got a ton of questions for you about your target setting. For those that don't know you, why don't you tell everybody where you were born and raised?
Yeah, I grew up in Sussex, just south of London in the UK, and my father had his own shooting range, so I worked on that since I was 7 years old, and I've been doing registered competitions for a long, long time, and I did my first World English Sporting in 2000. With that, my father and I set the targets for that. And so I've done a lot of World Championships, World English, World FITASC, and World Compact for the last 25 years.
Well, Jamie, you've definitely, obviously growing up in that atmosphere, you've done a lot of shooting, you did a lot of practicing, I'm sure you got to see a lot of stuff. So when did it click that you wanted to go set targets and actually, instead of pulling the trigger, what made you change your mind into throwing the clays?
Well, it was around about 2000. I sort of come to a decision: do I go and set targets and work at shoots and help run shoots, or do I follow the going shooting and trying to make a living shooting, which is quite difficult, and there's a lot of competition. So I chose the latter to do the working the shoots and becoming a target setter, and I've done that a lot with my father. So that was more the idea going with that.
Gotcha. Sounds like you've been all over the country, all over the world, basically. So you've got to see a lot of parts that most people that in this sport can only dream of. Do you have like a favorite shoot or location, or maybe an exotic location where you've set targets and you thought, wow, it just can't get any better than this?
Yeah, I've been to South Africa, Cape Town. I really enjoyed it there. I did the Europeans in 2019 in a place called Gant in Hungary. I worked with Patrick Russo, who's another FITASC course designer there, and that's incredible in these quarries. I enjoy going to America. I've been fortunate enough to travel quite a bit around there, and I enjoy going to doing the shoots in America, so I know I feel really appreciated for my work over there, and everyone makes me feel so welcome.
What's, all these locations and stuff you set, and, you talked about exotic locations and favorite locations and stuff, but what's been the easiest for you to set, and what's been the hardest for you to set? And if you would, Jamie, kind of elaborate on that. Like what makes a venue difficult and what makes it easy?
Oh, last year's World FITASC Game Unlimited, for working with someone who's on the same wavelength. Pete Malloy, we get on really well. We had similar ideas. And him and I would just bounce ideas off of each other, and we'd go around, and just the two of us would just talk, and he'd go, and I'd say, what about could I do that? And he'd go, yeah, that's no problem, but we can't shoot that way. I went, yeah, fine. And he was just a pleasure to work with, and I found it really good. To be fair, the recent one in Czech Republic was probably one of the hardest ones I've done.
Really?
Like physically, we had to move a lot of the traps by hand. And a lot of the traps turned up in boxes, and we had to unbox them and put them together. So that took a bit of time. That was the hard bit, was building the traps and getting them into the location.
Well, you mentioned Pete Malloy. I got to shoot some of your targets at the World FITASC last year. And then, of course, I just most recently shot them at the U.S. Open at Providence. And I have to say, I never had so much fun missing targets in my life. They were just awesome targets. I wish those listening that haven't got a chance to shoot your targets, I hope that they take note when you're coming here in the States and get a chance to shoot them because they're awesome. With that being said, what is it that you're trying to do when you set targets? Are you looking for a certain score, or is it more of an artistic approach and being creative with the landscape that you have to work with?
I like being artistic with the landscape and trying to use the terrain to fall the target, like to move the target down hills and up in gaps and just so it's a bit of an optical illusion sometimes. It looks like it's going flat, but actually it's going downhill and you've got to shoot underneath it. And I'm quite big on transitions. I like to get you out of position. Like you walk up to the stand and go, well, these two targets don't look too bad. I should be able to get all of these. But doing it as a combination, you got to work for it. So it's just getting you in different angles when you come back and you swing over the top of the target and the targets drop in. And so I like to really get you to work, and I'll try to find flaws in your technique. If you're missing getting the technique into when you're coming across the different targets, I'll try and find flaws that way. I'm not into throwing real long distance targets, but I can throw the odd long distance one, but I'm not going. Most of my targets are within 60 yards. So I wouldn't push anything over that.
So you're trying to get somebody on the read and on their timing, right? In other words, they read the target wrong. You're trying to fool them that way, and then their timing, right? Like get them out of pace.
Yes, and I don't force. I try not to force it like a kill point. I let them choose the kill point. It's like sort of my targets. You can shoot virtually any technique you want. So I'm not forcing where you got to shoot it. So you can let it go a little bit further and use pull away, or you can try and get on it earlier and maintain lead. It's your decision.
Jamie, as Jason and I have been able to travel, here in the United States, we've got to see quite a few of our better target setters out there in the wild. And, you kind of come to realize after you shoot a person's targets several times that they all have kind of a style or a flavor to them. For instance, Doug Vine likes to kind of get you up there with the big targets, fast, far away type stuff. And then right on the other hand, Joe Skull will set something that's 25 yards in your face and in transition, and he'll make you miss that way. I mean, do you kind of focus on a certain style of targets when you're setting targets? Do you change it like based on the location, or how do you kind of approach it when you go into a tournament and say, okay, I'm going to set targets and what am I going to do to make these people miss?
Terrain is the big factor. I'll look at the terrain and then I try to use different, and I'll try to get them to move. I'll move their feet as well. I like to try and you shoot a target over to your right and then you've got to come back and then there's a going away target flat. So it's just getting them out of position. And I've been fortunate enough. I've been all around the world and I've seen the Italians have a different style. The French have a different style. So I can blend that into my target setting and use that. I've been very lucky because I've been all around the world doing it.
Well, let me follow up with that because, Jason and I have been fortunate enough to be asked to set a couple tournaments here and there for the dead pair. Nothing major, obviously, but it's live and learn, right? So you get some criticism, you get some critiquing and stuff. How do you deal? I mean, do people still come to you these days, or maybe it was back when you first got started? How do you deal with the negative gripers, the complainers, the people that kind of like pick your targets apart? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, with the criticism, I always look at it, it's their opinion. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's someone's opinion. Mm-hmm. So I look at it like that. But recently I did the Czech Republic. I got more chandelle traps than I asked for. And I had a few more chandelles, and there was a couple of comments saying that I'd put on too many chandelles. Well, there was a reason for it. I had too many chandelle traps and I couldn't get out of it. So, but sometimes I just try to not think too much about it. And I don't do the social media and looking at what people are saying. I just do the shoot, and then if people are happy, they're happy. If they're not, they're not. That's how I look at it.
Well, I figure it's been a learning experience all these years that you have been doing it. I mean, obviously, each time you do something, you learn something new, you correct it. You know, if you can make it better, you can. I was just curious because, I mean, Jason and I have kind of, we've been praised on some of the stuff we've done, and we've been, you know, like having to run from the torches and the pitchforks as they come after us on other stations. So I was just curious if you had any tips or suggestions on how best to go about it.
Yeah, well, like I've been doing the shoots for over 25 years. I've made mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. You just go, right, I'm not doing that mistake again. And you learn from, and it's with the weather conditions. It's learning how to set the traps to suit all weather conditions. Mm-hmm. I've learned that over the years. So, right, I'm not doing that again because that caught me out before. So it's just, if you learn by your mistakes, we all make mistakes. So,
well, you know, you talked about different styles, you know, between, like you said, the French and, you know, the Americans and all that stuff. But you also have different targets, right? So in Europe, the 110 millimeter target's more common, where it's just, you know, a lower profile and kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, Jimmy, kind of holds its speed longer, right? As compared to 108 millimeter here in the United States. So you have to adjust for that too, right?
Yeah, I put the machines in different places. I've learned when I come over to the States, I set the machines in different places. Now I find that's critical. Is getting the trap in the right place is massive. And I just slightly set them a little bit differently with the machine and different to get the same sort of target how I want it. I've just set it differently with the machine to get, because I know the clays fly differently. Your 90s, your middies, I haven't got enough our middies fly further. So I don't set the midi trap out as far to get the similar sort of trajectory.
Yeah. And, you know, we talked about venues and stuff, and they all present their own unique set of challenges. But if you ever had to turn down setting a tournament, maybe you got there and were like, I'm not, no way. And like, what would be the reason for that if you did?
Yeah, no, I've gone around. I like going around with someone who thinks similar to me, and we walk around just before the tournament, and he might find something that I've missed, and they go, well, what about if you do that? And I've listened to other people and I've toned stuff down or even pushed it out and gone, well, we'll go with that.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Pete Malloy. I'm sure Pete's a fun one to work with because he's got that creative mindset like you do, you know, like, hey, let's blow open this area over here. Let's shoot over here. You know what I mean? I can see him doing that.
Yes. Yeah. There's a new area for the US Open next year. And Pete and I found it for the World FITASC. And it's like a valley but we didn't use it for one of the layouts. And he said he's going to open it for the US Open. This bit's spectacular.
Oh, really? So we've got some new ground next year for the US Open at Game Unlimited. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And this new area is really, really good. And I found it and walking through. It was quite overgrown. But Pete said he didn't have really run out of time to do it for the Worlds. But he's going to do it for the US Open. But we chose the Krieghoff layout, the one down by the lake.
Yeah.
That was all woodland. And he cleared that over the winter. And then it turned into a fantastic layout.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, James, you travel all over the world. You've definitely seen more than your share of facilities and shooters. So, you know, where do you think the sport is headed? I mean, right where we're at, you know, I know that the gun thing is a bigger issue worldwide than it is here in the United States as far as like the availability and the ease to purchase firearms. But, you know, it's still a sport and we're still trying to keep it moving forward and growing. What do you see out there? I mean, what's the pros, the cons, you know, of the sport worldwide, in your opinion?
Well, in Europe, we're going to have the lead issue is going to be an issue in a few years to come. So the transition over to steel sharp will be a big for Europe. So that will not there, and then to shooting, we'd lose a few shooting grounds because of it. You've got a massive junior scholarship, like the scholarship to bring on the young shooters. Europe hasn't, and especially the UK hasn't. So we're lacking the next generation. There's only a handful of people that want to do it, and mainly their family shoot, and that's the reason why they shoot. So you've got in the next 10 years, America's going to power on from the rest of Europe.
And it's such an interesting shift too, because I mean, really until the late 90s, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't Anthony the first American to win a world title? Is that correct?
I think I think Greg Wolf.
Greg Wolf. You're right. Greg Wolf.
Yeah, 2003,
yeah.
2004. I think Greg won it. And then you've had a few since, but it started, the momentum's carried. And you had that generation of shooters, Greg Wolf, Anthony, Corey, Gibbon, and they've just powered on through, and they haven't lost their momentum.
Yeah, like I said, it's just an interesting shift because, the Europeans were so strong for so many years, dominant, and then now all of a sudden we're witnessing that shift. Speaking of which, do you still work at EJ Churchill?
No, I've gone self-employed, and I've gone freelance. So I'm doing shoots sort of like without them now. But no, I was going to do the World English with them, but for personal reasons, I've pulled out. And they've got someone else doing it.
Okay. I'm just curious. I mean, that was one of the places on Sean and I's bucket list, still is on our bucket list to visit, because that's kind of like almost like the birthplace of all this, isn't it?
Yeah, no, they do a good job there, and they've got a fantastic estate across the road, and Sir Edward Dashwood lets them use it for the World English every 2 years, and it's incredible over there with the space they've got. But there'd be a good shoot in a few weeks' time.
One more question on your target setting. You're known for your FITASC, but is it a preference thing? Do you prefer FITASC over sporting? I know you set both, but is it something about the FITASC that you like setting better?
Yeah, I quite hand. I like doing, and I do compact a lot as well, and I enjoy doing compact. It's just you've got to set them differently, and there are different. It's a bit like downhill skiing. It's a different way of doing things. So, but no, I enjoy all three, really.
Well, as much target setting you've done, apparently you're also doing course design too, right, Jamie? So
yeah, no, I've done a few courses around the world. I've gone and I've been to Uruguay. I've set one there, and I've done one in Finland, and so fortunate enough to go to these different countries.
To me, that's fascinating. I mean, as a target setter for years, you've been able to go places and say, okay, well, because this is this way, I'm going to set this target this way. It's got to be a whole different ball of wax when you get in there and you can basically start from the ground up and build a course based on your preferences on what you like to see, right?
Yeah. Well, when I do like a World FITASC, it's normally on virgin ground. And so I have to make all the paths. And so it's similar to building a fresh new ground. Very rarely it's on an actual shooting ground. So I go around, I like to spend 2 or 3 days walking and studying the ground. I think that's critical. And and then I go and find a really good locator, a peg location, and because I've found the terrain, and I use that. So walking the ground's massive for me.
Jamie, do you still enjoy shooting? Do you ever get to compete anymore?
Occasionally I get to, but I enjoy doing the shoots, setting the targets more than I do shooting. So yeah, I get more of a buzz out of it than that. So I like people enjoying themselves.
You like beating us behind the trap versus the scoreboard, huh?
Yeah. But I couldn't compete with some of these guys now. They're incredible.
That's one of the things that Sean and I complain so much about here in the States is, our classification system, which we're getting ready to do a big podcast on. In fact, it's going to come out the day before this to discuss it because, you get guys like Sean and I, and we earn enough punches and we get thrown into masterclass with guys that we should not be in there with. I mean, look, Sean and I love to shoot. We're passionate about it. That doesn't mean we can compete with George and, Brandon Powell and Ben and all these other guys, I mean, the list goes on, but when we were at nationals competing in masters, you had to scroll several times to get to our names, right? So in
way
masters,
down the list.
Yeah.
Way down the list.
No, there are some good shots around, and there's a lot of these guys are incredible, and they don't miss much nowadays. I set the European in the Czech Republic there were some big targets there, and I didn't expect the score. James Atwood from the UK, he's local to me actually. He shot a 193, and it wasn't a 193 with the targets. It was just they don't miss anymore.
Wow.
This guy.
Yeah, Brandon just competed here locally, the Shooters Challenge. Now I don't know what the targets were like, but I know he went I think he went 100 straight on Sunday and like something crazy. I don't remember what it was, like a 98 or 99 or something on Saturday. It's like, where do these scores come from?
Yeah, no, they just don't miss these guys now. So the only way you can beat them now is if you put the targets out of range, and then it's not fair for the likes of the normal shooter.
Right. Yeah, and and this boils back to you as a target setter. So you can't go in thinking, well, Brandon's going to be here, so I got to set these big bombs out here, because now you're setting for one person or maybe the elite very top of the game, and you're ignoring the 95% of the amount of people that make up the tournament, D through AA, so you can't really just beat the heck out of people. So you got to be mindful of that, right? I mean, so what is the answer there, Jamie, as a target setter? What do you do to, I don't know, is it that big of a deal to even prevent those type of scores?
Every shoot I've done, someone always shoots it, blows out, like shoots a massive score. So I forget that person. But my philosophy is I try to shoot for everyone to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I find that we're in the leisure industry, and people want to come in their leisure time and basically enjoy themselves.
Yeah. So
you like to Brandon Powell, and that I don't think I'm going to set the shoot for them. It's for the majority.
Right.
And if they shoot a big score, good. I'm pleased for them.
Right. But, Sean mentioned Doug Vine earlier in his style of target setting. And here locally in the States, at the Jack Links Cup a few years back, one of the stories that Joe Skull tells is, Zach Keenbaum had the tournament won on Saturday by shooting Doug's harder targets. And he lost by coming and shooting Joe's quote unquote softer targets. It was, something rolling at 25 yards that he misread and he missed it. And, but it's targets like to me, they don't have to be big targets for people to miss. But like you said, somebody's going to get hot and you just got to ignore that, right?
Yeah. It's like compact. Compacts, it's a mind game more the targets. There's no targets more than, say 37 meters away. So 36 meters away. So it's all in, everything is killable, shootable. So it's just in the mind, and it's pressure. And pressure does funny things to people. And when they're under and they start thinking about it, they miss. So you don't need to have these big targets, especially if they're running for a big prize or world champion or a very big prize pot. They put pressure on themselves.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, if somebody's been listening to this and they're like, wow, maybe a general manager or somebody that would like to have you come set targets for them here in the States, how do they find you? Do you have a website or anything where they can get a hold of you?
I'm not on social media, but they can contact, if they go on FITASC.com, on the FITASC website, I'm one of the official target setters, and all my details and email address are on there. And if they wanted to contact me, they can do that through that.
Well, we're going to drag the big man here out of the house next year for the U.S. Open. I want him to come to Game Unlimited and shoot your targets at the U.S. Open. I think that's going to be amazing, especially with that new area being opened up. I mean, plus he's never been there, right? So he needs to come have lunch with us, Jamie, and shoot some of your wonderful targets.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, no, I'll look forward to it.
Yeah, definitely put that on the bucket list for sure.
No, Peter will pull out all the stops for that and make it a really good shoot.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Jamie, thank you, man. Appreciate you joining us. I know you got the little ones running around there. You got to wrestle up, but we appreciate you spending some time with us. I know we got a big time difference and stuff, so hopefully it's not too late for you over there.
No, it's been really good talking to you, and look forward to seeing you next year.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, Jamie. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The Dead Pair.
Well, Jason, I'll tell you what, I'm even more jealous than ever that you got to go shoot some of his targets. He sounds like a really cool guy, man, that really knows his stuff.
Very interesting. Been around for a long time. Obviously knows what he's doing. That's my opinion is one thing, but when you listen to everybody else at the tournament that talks to you about targets, and nobody complained. Nobody. And I mean, I talked to people that were D class all the way up through the guys at the top, and absolutely loved him. Corey Cruz is probably the most honest person you're going to speak to in the sport, and he raved about him.
Yeah.
And then I've talked to some other people that were entry level, and So, man, I wish I could hit them. They're beautiful. I love them. I think they were great. You know, nobody thought it was over their head or anything. So,
Well, and the neat thing about it, I mean, we've gotten to know quite a few of the premier target setters in the United States, and we kind of know what they bring to the game when they set a target up. But golly, he's been all over the world and has set targets for a host of different audiences, different countries, different types of shooters. And the things that he must know or have learned along the way, I mean, it's kind of staggering, really, when you look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, he has such a variety because you look at some of the great target setters we have here in the United States, they haven't had to travel for any reason, and they probably won't to go outside the country and set. Jamie sets all over the world. So he gets, like he said, the French like it one way, the Italians like it one way, the Americans like it one way. So he gets that good variety, that good catalog database of different styles of targets and different ways of setting. And it's kind of neat that he can blend all that and put it together for a tournament. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm looking forward to finally, hopefully one of these days, shooting his targets so I can get a taste of it myself. But in the meantime, I'll just have to live vicariously through you.
I don't know if you want to do that's a dangerous area, dude. You don't want to do that. But anyway, speaking of getting out and shooting, Sean Alley, we have a message we tell everybody and a challenge from the Dead Pair here, a message that we tell everybody every single week.
Well, and just like Jamie alluded to, over in Europe, the sport is maybe a little bit on the struggling side, especially with getting new shooters in there. So why don't all of our listeners take advantage of how easy it is to find a person that may even be just slightly interested or not, and take them out there and introduce them to the sport. Put a gun in their hand, let them break a few clays, watch the smile happen, and then let the rest take care of itself. I mean, it's a great sport. It's a great activity for all ages, the family, the kids, the whole 9 yards. But get them out there and just introduce it. Take that time. Do it at least once. Do it at least once. We like to see you do it once or twice a month, but do it at least once. Help the sport, make it grow, and we'll make it better for everybody.
Yep, for sure. Between now and then, you get a chance, get over to Apple Podcasts, if that's where you listen. Leave us a review. We'd sincerely appreciate that. If you listen to us to YouTube, please like and subscribe. We just recently did a Scoops episode with Neil Chadwick. Now, I want to remind everyone, again, we will not have an episode next week. Sean and I will be tied up at the Northeast Regional Cardinal Center, so we will not have an episode next week. And we've got lots more great content coming, so stick with us. And Sean Alley, my friend, until next week.
Can't wait to see you all back here on the Dead Pair Podcast.
We'll see you next time on the Dead Pair Podcast.
The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Kolar Arms, the mark of performance, and is fueled by Fiocchi USA. The Dead Pair theme song was written, arranged, and produced by Toby Tomplay. Special thanks to the following sponsors: Atlas Traps, Ranger Performance Eyewear, Rhino Chokes, Long Range LLC, Taconic Distillery, Score Chaser, and Clay Range Design Works.